Welcome to Terza TV. This is a show dedicated to martial arts, weapons, swordsmanship, fencing, which is the skill or sport aspect of it, and apparently Band-Aids. Now, today we're going to talk about something really important that, it's foundational. We're going to talk about the sword. Specifically, we're going to talk about the parts of the sword and how you grip the thing, how you hold on to it. Because, to be frank with you, if you can't hold on to the thing, it's not going to do anything for you. It's going to sit on the ground and be inert because it can't operate without your input. So, let's get started. Now, the sword has many, many parts. And as you can see here, I'm going to hold it this way. This is what's called a complex or compound hilt. Now, it has some interesting parts. Here, we have the pommel. And then here and here, we have the keons. These are called side rings. This is called the leading ring, and this is the back ring. Now, the reason why it's called that, I'm going to flip this around here so you can see, is the lead ring faces your knuckle. The back ring is towards your wrist. Now, that corresponds with a really nice thing called the leading edge. This is one style of sword. There are many, many styles of swords. Some have more, some have less, some have seemingly nothing at all, but they all have one thing in common. You've got to hold on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how to hold on to the sword. Now, you take your hand, the one without the Band-Aid, or unless you don't have a choice, the one with the Band-Aid. Take the sword and you put it in your hand. You put your hand inside of it like this. Now I want you to see something here. You notice that I am not closing my fingers around it. And I'm not closing my fingers around this. But you can see that it rests gently in that space. Now what I can do is I can take my finger right here. You can see that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around that ricasso. And then I'm going to take my thumb, and I'm going to put my thumb gently touching it. And these fingers here, I'm going to lightly wrap around. Now you're going to ask yourself, well, aren't you afraid of dropping the sword? Yes, but I'm using what I call a variable grip. My grip changes depending on the circumstances. Now, if I'm going to cut with it, I can take my thumb and put it on the back of the ricasso. And I can kind of help push and steer with that. And I can clamp down my hands into a tighter grip as I'm impacting on that cut. Now, if I want to change my angle, keeping my fingers nice and loose makes it much easier to manipulate the sword. I also keep it loose up here until I need to hold it down. The idea is that you have this varying grip, not too varying, but a varying grip that allows you to change in an instant the action that you're going to do. Other swords have different grips. Japanese swords, you're actually gripping with these lower fingers more than anything else. These are nice and loose. Oh, by the way, don't stick your finger out because it's not gripping, because you could get it smashed. Ask me how I know that one. So, grip is really, really important. Grip allows you to do all sorts of maneuvers with the sword. And you tighten up or relax depending on the need. Varying grip is really, really important and really, really useful for fencing. It allows for better control of the blade. Okay, well, that's all we have for today. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for their support. And I would encourage people to hit the subscribe button. This show will get better as time goes on because, well, experience does what it does. And I just want to reiterate, this is a show about fencing, and our main thrust is that everybody can do it. And nobody's going to judge you. Well, except for Winston. But Winston is a speciesist stuffed fox who doesn't have much use for bipeds. So, buyer beware. And he's usually hiding around the studio somewhere at some point. Anyhow, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.